I never would have thought that a Fitbit could be used to catch a killer, but that's exactly what happened in this case. A woman was found dead in her home, and investigators noticed that her Fitbit activity tracker showed some odd patterns, and they followed its trail all the way to her killer. Now, this story will give you a newfound appreciation for fitness trackers. Thanks for watching True Crime Recaps. I'm Chris. As far as Connie Dabate knew, life was good. At 39 years old, she was at the top of her game as a pharmaceutical rep. She'd been married for 12 years to a loving husband. They had 2 adorable little boys, and they all lived in a gorgeous neighborhood in Ellington, Connecticut. Her life was a Pinterest page. Or so it seemed until her body was found on her basement floor. She'd been shot in the head and the stomach. Her husband, Richard, was upstairs, partly zip-tied to a chair. He had a few cuts and bruises, but based on the story he had to tell, he barely escaped with his life. Now, let me rewind this story by a few hours. On December 23, 2015, Richard left the house around 8 a.m. and dropped his sons off at the school bus stop. He was meant to be on his way to work at that point, but he came home first to get a work shirt, and that was about 8:30. While he was changing, Connie left for a spin class at the Y. Then he headed for the office. But only a few minutes into his 40-minute commute, he realized he left his laptop at the house. At the same time he was turning around to go back for it, he got a text alert that their security alarm was going off. So he pulled over and emailed his boss to say he would be late because he needed to go back and check on the alarm. It was about 9 a.m. when he got home. When he walked in, he heard a noise upstairs. When he checked it out, he found a strange man going through their bedroom closet. He wore a mask and gloves so he couldn't make out too many distinguishing features, but he described the intruder as 6 foot 2 inches, stocky, with a deep voice like Vin Diesel. When he came face to face with Richard, he says he manhandled him and demanded his cash, credit cards, and PIN number. While the two of them struggled, he heard Connie come home. Her spin class was canceled, so she was back early. He yelled for her to run, and this masked man went flying down the stairs chasing her. The next sound he heard was gunshots coming from the basement. That was shortly after 9 a.m. When he went down to investigate, the intruder managed to take him down using pressure points on his wrists. Before he knew it, he was zip-tied to a metal folding chair, and his attacker was poking his legs and chest with a box cutter. Then he pulled out a blowtorch and tried to burn him, but Richard still had one hand free, and he fought back and managed to turn the torch on the masked stranger instead. The man's mask went up in flames, and he ran up the stairs and out the door, leaving Richard in the basement with his wife's body. At 10:16 a.m., the Live Watch security company contacted the Connecticut State Police about a panic alarm going off at the Dabate house. By 10:30, help was there. Richard had made his way upstairs to press the panic button and call 911. When the cavalry arrived, he was laying on the kitchen floor with one leg and one arm still attached to the chair. And his first words were chilling. The masked man was still there. They brought out the dogs to hunt him down. They searched the house and the neighborhood, but all they found was Richard's wallet behind the house. His cash and credit cards was still in it. Did the intruder get away without a dime? That's sure how it looked. But you can't fool animals the way you can fool people. And Rocky, one of the canine cops, thought something smelled off with Richard's story right from the beginning. He was meant to be sniffing for the scent of a stranger, but the only person he smelled around the crime scene was the man of the house. He was so sure about it, he even followed him out to the ambulance to alert his handler that he cracked the case. And just an hour or so later, the rest of the squad started to see Rocky's point. While Richard was being treated for his injuries at the hospital, they asked him the big question. If we look, will we find any red flags in your marriage? Maybe a third person? His answer? Yes. And. Yes, there was a mistress, and she was almost 8 months pregnant with his baby. He met his mistress, Sarah, years earlier when they were both in junior high, and he never really got over her. They reconnected in the biblical way a few times over the years, but when they reunited in May of 2015, Sarah got pregnant. Richard reassured her he was going to leave his wife to be with her and the baby, but nothing could have been further from the truth. Right up until the day she was killed, Connie believed they were working on their marriage. Their relationship wasn't perfect, of course. No relationship is. Friends say when they fought, it was about money. Richard spent too much, and Connie was the responsible one. In fact, the day before the murder, they argued about their cable bill. He had added the sports package to it, then lied and said it was a mistake by the cable company. He seemed to have an answer for everything. So when police asked if his wife knew about his pregnant mistress, he was way ahead of them. He said she knew everything, and not only did she know, but she approved of it. He claimed she wanted to have another child, but couldn't, so they talked about using his good friend Sarah as a surrogate. But instead of going to a lab to inseminate, he, in his words, said he used some non-traditional methods, and before any of them knew it, she was pregnant. In truth, the clock was ticking on his promises to his mistress. Investigators knew his story was off. Even Rocky the dog knew he was the guy, but it took them more than a year to prove it. This is where the Fitbit comes in. That fitness tracker had a different story to tell. And here's what really happened on the morning of December 23, 2015. Connie did go to the gym. Her Fitbit registered the drive there, the brief walk to the front desk to learn her class had been canceled, and the drive back. And she got home around 9:20 a.m. And for the next 30 minutes or so, she went about her morning as usual. She even shared a few videos to her Facebook page. But around 10, things started to change. Her last movement was at 10:05 a.m., which meant she was still alive for almost an hour after her husband claimed she was shot by an intruder. And the timing wasn't the only thing he lied about. He said he pulled over on his way to work to send his boss a message about his alarm going off. Not quite. He actually sent that message from his house while he waited for his wife to come home. I'm always curious what people are thinking about before and after they do something so heinous. Aren't you? Well, in this case, Richard was online scrolling through ideas for men's tattoos and reading articles about Star Wars. At 10:05 a.m., police say he used one of his own guns to kill his wife. Then he staged the scene. He told them he had to crawl up the basement stairs with a chair on his back, but the blood droplets told a different story. They say he walked calmly upstairs, then went to his knees when he got to the kitchen tile. That's where the drag marks started. And why would he shoot the woman he vowed to love forever? The police think it all came down to a romantic weekend they spent in Vermont not long before her murder. He was meant to be in the middle of a divorce, but Sarah found out Connie was posting amazing photos of a surprise weekend away without the kids. When she called Richard out on it, he claimed it wasn't what it looked like, but she gave him an ultimatum. Her or me. Connie paid for his choice with her life. And in 2022, her husband was found guilty of murder. And that's your recap. Thanks for watching. If you like getting all the crime in half the time, stay right here. There's another recap coming up right now.